Okay, it's time to take this apart and put our block in there. Okay, remember our mark. We need to make sure we line it up with our mark here. It's got to be pretty much perfect. Don't worry about what's on the sides. Always go by that mark. Okay, there's one. And the next thing, we need to make sure that the front of the piece here is flush perfectly with this other one. As you can get it. Okay, and now you've got your door jig. Okay, we got our jig on here, lined up with our hole in there. But the most important one is lining up with the inside where the latch goes. Once you line that up, the others will be right on target, as long as you got your lines and everything where they're supposed to go. We're up against the door frame there. We're up against the door frame on the bottom. That's important. To drill this one, you should use this type of a hole saw. This way it won't enlarge the hole in your jig in case you got to use this several times. I don't have the mandrel for it. I don't know what happened to it, so we're going to use the other one. And then the other one, we're going to drill through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this side, go through about halfway, then I'm going to come in from the other side and come through. Now you want to be sure to hold this drill with two hands, because you sure don't want this thing to grab your hand and spin it around. You want to hang on to it good and solid. There we have it. Got our hole done. It's already big enough, so we don't really have to do anything with that. So we can now pull our jig off of here and move on. Well, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can chisel around the whole thing, or you can use a bit like these flat paddle bits, and that would help dig out some of the meat before you start digging it out with a chisel, because the less you hammer on that door, the less chances of any of the paint going to be falling off of it or chipping out. And you do want to take your time. Now you've got very little to chisel out. There we go. There we go, nice and flush against the door. Now we can put our lock on. Okay, these are the simplest locks to put on. That's why they're called Kwikset. Once you go through there, it stabs in to the turnbuckle, and which this part goes through your latch, and that's really about it. And then you just, hardest part is just lining up where those two screws go. Before I forget, there is an up. No matter what latch you buy, there's always an up on there, so make sure that's up when it goes in, or you're going to have a hard time putting your lock on, and then it won't work at all. Okay, you get that in there. Then your latch goes on. Remember, only go one way. Okay, and then we're almost done. We just need to get our two screws in there. Here's our two screws. Like I said, this where this key goes, it can't be at any kind of an angle. It has got to be exactly straight up and down, or you'll never get those screws in there. And the reason is because those screws have to go through this latch also before it goes to the lock side. Okay, now you always want to drill holes, because if you don't, sometimes you run a screw in there without drilling a hole. Your door, especially on the thinner doors, they'll split. Hunt for it. Okay, now one thing I will tell you, if you try to use this thing and it's real hard to turn, it's because something is not lining up, and it could be that you've got too much pressure on your latch pushing against your lock, or it could be your lock mechanism either too far up or too far down. But this one's right on.